I'm really happy to welcome to the show Kami Knake from Nashville. And Kami has her own podcast, which is called Bands Under the Radar. And she also works with Topspin and with Brite Revolution. So we're going to talk about those as well. So Kami, thanks for making the time to come on the show. How are you? Everything all right your end?
Great. I'm doing great. I wanted to add in real quick Mobile Roadie too. I'm kind of I'm a consultant, so I consult for Topspin, Mobile Roadie, and Brite Revolution. I'm kind of all over the place.
Cool, excellent. Well, lots of projects going on, and so let's start a little bit talking about your podcast, which is one of the things you started quite a few years ago now. It's called Bands Under the Radar, and it's abbreviated to BUTR. And how did you start out with that, and how did that develop?
Yeah, I've been podcasting for over 5 years. I think I was one of the first probably 100 people in the country to start podcasting right when Adam Curry kind of coined the term and created it. Adam Curry was the first DJ on MTV, and I think if you Wikipedia him, he's credited as the founder of podcasting. And I have an engineering degree, and I just once I saw him and a couple others doing it, I'm like, well, I can do this. It's always been my greatest passion is to turn people on to new music. And I always thought I had to be a DJ on a radio station to be able to do that. But when podcasting was invented, I'm like, I'm totally hopping on board and doing this. And it's my way to share music with other people. So I started it in November of 2004 and was just, doing a podcast maybe once every month or two and just, picking great tunes that I loved. But then I got a full-time job in the music business and started working at APA and booking bands at the Viper Room and working at Warner Brothers Records. And so I didn't have enough time to do podcasting on a regular basis. But back then, when you first started, I mean, there was 100, there was 1,000, maybe there was 10,000. But now I don't even want to know how many podcasts, hundreds of thousands. And, anybody can have a podcast. They realize how, easy it is really. And every celebrity can have a podcast. And so now it's just it's as noisy as the musical landscape.
How do you see music podcasts developing? How do you see their curve develop? Do you think they're getting bigger? Do you think they're getting more fragmented? Or do you think radios are kind of taking over because a lot of radios are actually distributing their content over podcasts as well?
I don't think podcasting is ever going to go away. I think it's going to be a great marketing tool, and I just think there's going to be a lot of filters. I mean, there's a lot of sites out there that already aggregate podcasts, and there's a lot of video podcasts out there now. And I still think it's new for most people. Like the average person has probably never listened to a podcast, but the people that do listen to podcasts, I think really love them. Like once you listen to your first podcast, people are like, wow, this is really useful. Especially people that are on the road or driving or going to the gym, it's not that, there's so many different kinds of podcasts out there where you learn, where you can learn about stuff. And I just think there needs to be more filters in place. And really the way people discover podcasts, just like they discover a new CD they like, is word of mouth or from a recommendation from their friend. And so I think there needs to be consolidation. I mean, there's definitely too many podcasts out there, and I think the average podcast probably only has 100 or 1,000 listeners. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the first people to start podcasting. So I've had over 100,000 people download one of my podcasts, but that's not the case anymore. Now on average, I probably have 50,000 people download the podcast, which is still amazing compared to most podcasts that exist out there. That's a great group of people that I can reach, of indie music lovers. But my subscriber base has definitely declined, and I don't think it's because of the quality. I think I have more hardcore fans today than ever. It's just so noisy, and you're competing for so many listeners.
Yeah, and you've developed an app for your show, which is a BUTR app, which is free to download on the iTunes store right now. I was wondering, how did you get involved with developing the app, and what's your involvement with Mobile Roadie? How do you work with them?
It's a little confusing. I have two apps available in the store. One is a paid app, and I did the paid app through Liberated Syndication. And I should mention them because they actually host my podcast as well. So, you go through a lot of bandwidth when you have 50,000 people downloading a 100 megabyte podcast file. And I should plug Liberated Syndication. It's like $6 a month for pretty much for unlimited downloads for 100 megabytes a month. So it's a good deal. And they have a solution where they hit up all these since they host a lot of podcasts, they're like, we'll make a podcasting app for you. And they do it for free, but they want you to charge for your app, and then they want to take, 50, they split the revenues.
Yeah.
And so for people that don't want to pay any money for an app and they have a podcast and they want to get their podcast out there, that is an option, liberated syndication.
Yeah.
But for people that want more robust features and definitely I think a better user experience, that's Mobile Roadie. And I discovered Mobile Roadie after the fact that I'd already had my paid Butter app in the store. So I have a paid Butter app that I'm not promoting because I'm like, everybody go to the free one that I have with Mobile Roadie.
Yeah.
This is a little confusing, but Mobile Roadie Mobile Roadie makes apps for like liberated syndication apps. They specialize just in podcast apps.
Sure.
Mobile Roadie makes apps for any brand, whether you're an athlete, a celebrity, a venue, own a venue, an author, a musician. Any brand these days should have an app because mobile is such a touch point for marketing. And Mobile Roadie has a very robust CMS, highly customizable CMS, where you can upload your audio, video, photos, news. I mean, anytime you want to make a change to your app, you can do it in seconds. Like, you can upload it and you'll see those changes reflected on the iPhone app and on the Android app. So that's the big thing that separates Mobile Roadie from all these other app makers is you can update the app yourself in a very manageable CMS that's user friendly. But you can create your app in 30 minutes and it can go live on the iPhone. You build it once in one place and it can go live on the iPhone. It can go live on the Android platforms, and in the next probably 60 days, we'll be supporting the BlackBerry platform as well. And people can't just think of the iPhone as a marketplace for apps. The Android is going to give the iPhone a run for its money. If you have an app on the iPhone, you should also have an app on the Android. I can't stress that enough. There's so many handsets making new handsets coming out that are on the Android platform.
Yeah, and it's an interesting option for musicians as well, because it is expensive and quite hard to develop for both platforms, as many developers know. So if you have the opportunity with Mobile Roadie to have the apps on both platforms, then that's probably quite a good option for musicians.
Right. You can build it once in one place, manage your content, update it anytime you want, and push it to the iPhone and the Android. And the great thing is, and Mobile Roadie is very affordable. I mean, there's all these apps out there that can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 based on how much customization you want.
Sure.
But if you want an app that can just really connect with your fans, the first time you open a Mobile Roadie app, it asks for your email address, and you can send unlimited push notifications that can be geo-targeted anywhere in the based on your zip code. So that's a really, really powerful when people ignore emails these days a lot on the computer, but that there might be I've actually seen a great response of collecting emails through my mobile app.
Yeah.
A lot of times they don't think to go to your website and join your mailing list, but if they have your phone in your hand and you ask them right away through a pop-up, they'll do that. But and some people are like, I'm fanatical checking every email I get, but other people don't, kind of ignore email. So it might be a way to reach them might be through push notifications via the app. Like, that is such a great, push notification on an app comes up just like a text message. You can't ignore it. So I think that's going to be a really useful marketing tool. I think that's another thing. I really think SMS marketing, which is expensive, is going to go away. I don't think it makes sense. Why would you pay for SMS marketing when you have Twitter and you have marketing through apps that are kind of the same, reach the people in the same way?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and hopefully with the new folders solutions that were provided in the next generation of iPhone, it will make it a little bit easier to organize apps, because now apps as well as podcasts and many other things are getting a bit drowned in the noise, and it's hard to even organize them on your phone. So
oh gosh, you're right. People look at my phone and I've got about 40 or 50 apps on it, and I just have to go scroll through screens. They're like, oh my gosh, all your apps. But and me, like, maybe I have 40 or 50, but there's over 100,000 apps out there. Like, you're right, apps are just as noisy as podcasts and CDs, but it's all going to be about recommendations, referrals, tastemakers turning you on. But they've even said people are going to download more apps than they're going to download CDs. Like, apps are going to supersede CD sales.
Leaving the apps for a moment, you're also involved with Brite Revolution, and this is quite a recent involvement you have with them. And what is the company about, for anybody that is listening that doesn't know anything about them, and what are you doing with them?
Right. So Brite Revolution, it's Brite, revolution.com. It's a company that I've been with just for a couple months, but I'm really passionate about them. They've been around for a little over a year. They first initially launched as a paid subscription model where artists would record exclusive tracks for their platform, and you would pay like $4.99 a month, and there was a charity element to it. So every fan that joined to get, new tracks emailed to them every single week, paying just $4.99 a month, they would also, part of that money would go to the charity of their choice. And an artist would pick the charity of their choice too. So it was a really cool combination, but it's hard to get a big database of music fans when you've only got, a handful of artists, and then they're not like U2s of the world.
Yeah, sure.
So, and so we just realized music these days is being used as a loss leader. Like you pretty much got to give away stuff free to get people in the door and to find out about and discover your brand. So we can, as of March 1st, we actually went free.
Yeah.
And so, and we decided and just opened our platform, and pretty much the company was just it's based in Nashville, Tennessee, and it mostly had like Nashville singer-songwriters, which they're great. But I was brought in, and I'm going to pretty much handpick artists from all over the world, and it's all genres. I mean, it's more indie, rock, pop, strong lyrics, strong vocals. We don't really have any profanity or hardcore metal, but
sure.
Otherwise it's pretty much all genres.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really just, it's my dream job to get to work with so many great artists that I love, that I think are up and coming, that it really goes hand in hand with my podcast. All these bands find and put on my podcast, I want to get them on Brite Revolution. And so we create a profile for an artist. There's always at least 2 songs that you can download for free from every artist on our profile. And then when the artists come through Nashville touring, we actually bring them in to record a Brite session. And so you will be able to have live acoustic tracks by them, or just live full band tracks by them, as well as see high quality video. Like every session we do is shot in high definition video. So it also gives the artists, a lot of these artists may not have a good visual of them live.
Yeah.
And so we offer that to them. But yeah, so right now we're free. I encourage everybody to go to Brite, Brite, revolution.com, and you can download over 100 high quality MP3 files right now. And there's only going to be, there's more. I'm adding more artists and more music to it every single week. And it's a filter. Like, yeah, you can get free music everywhere, but this is a filter where we're saying these bands are working hard, are making amazing music, and deserve to be heard. And it's just, there's so many sites out there where any band can join and give away free music, but like 90% of the music sucks. Yeah. So we like to think that hopefully you'll like almost all of our music. Yeah,
plus it's the kind of service that is filtered. So if somebody goes on Brite Revolution and finds music that they like, chances are that they're going to like a lot of the other stuff that you have on there. So that's a great news for the people that want to listen to music, because on MySpace there's hundreds of thousands of bands, and it's just
and people don't have time. And another thing, you don't have time. There may be 10 bands that you like, but you don't have time to go to each of their MySpace page and listen to 3 or 4 songs and ignore the have to close out the ads. And here it's like you can stream over 100 songs right now and discover 50 new artists that you could possibly love in a very like user-friendly like environment. I should stress, like our Brite Revolution platform, it's a $500,000 platform. Like we designed it to be very user-friendly and intuitive. And there's no ads. It's so clean. We're actually going to white label it. The white label solution is probably going to be ready in 60 days, where any company, because these days every brand wants to use music to grow their brand or give them a cool factor, whether it's a Mountain Dew or Pepsi or, an Urban Outfitters or, clothing. I mean, almost every clothing store really uses music too. And so we're just like this great, all these companies that want to handpick and release music to their own customers, they could do it through a platform like ours. So hopefully, I think it's going to be a really cool thing it's all about, giving the fans and customers and listeners a good user experience to be able to listen and download this music where it's not hard to figure out and it's not tedious.
For the moment, you're basically trying to get a bigger audience, and then I guess you're going to figure out the the exact business model later, or do you think you have an idea of what's going to happen?
Our business model for Brite, right now we're not making any money. We're literally just offering you free music, and there's no strings attached. Yeah. But everybody that creates once you sign up for Brite, you just gotta fill in your email address and your zip code, and you got to pick a charity, because that's going to be a big element down the road. Is if we can amass a database of 50 or 100,000 hardcore music fans, or 1 million. I mean, who knows? The sky's the limit down the road. But this is a very core demographic, and it's going to be very, very valuable to advertisers and sponsors, and I think eventually with our charity element, like every fan and every artist that creates a profile on our platform, just the artists create profiles, and just the fans just get a login to download all the music, but they pick a charity too. And so eventually we could have a big sponsor come in, and for every song that's downloaded, that money is divided up to the charities of the customer's choice, the fan's choice, the artist's choice. So I think that could be a really cool play to tie in charity to it down the road. And then, the sky's like, think if we gave away every song that was downloaded on our platform, we gave away 5 cents to charity. Yeah. And, I think then, we could bring in superstar artists probably that would want to be a part of it, because they want to, donate. They want to give a song to charity just to donate money.
Yeah. Sure.
So that's going to be definitely a play. And then our white label solution's a play. And so that's kind of what we're looking at down the road, and it's just a brand that we're building. Like, think of Brite Revolution as a discovery platform. We really want it to be a music discovery platform, and if we can amass enough eyeballs, then there's if we have the ability to break bands or really drive some interest for these beginning artists, then we can get into management, distribution, marketing. I mean, I can offer them the whole great thing. It could be a 360 company where all these baby acts that don't know what to do, and they don't have any big time manager or label looking at them. We could be like, we can get you launched. We can help you release your music. We can get you a website. We can, get your music in front of like music supervisors and create an app for you and sell your music direct to fan, so that we have all these. There's a big vision of what it could become.
What can be done with that? Yeah, sure. Yeah. And an interesting thing is that basically everything you do revolves around sort of unsigned artists or artists that are trying to make it, strike it out on their own. And this goes for your podcast, for Mobile Roadie in a way, for Brite Revolution, and also for Topspin, with whom you've been involved with them for quite a while as well. And so, how is the Topspin platform developing? How do you see that growing as well?
Yeah, I love Topspin. Like every artist that I work with, there's artists that they'll just hire me as a consultant to help them with their website, and even for my BUTR podcast, I use Topspin to, if anybody doesn't know what Topspin is, it's an e-commerce marketing platform. You basically can upload anything: audio, video, photos, PDF files, buddy icons, physical items. You basically can sell anything digitally and physical direct to fan. But it's, what makes them different from everybody else is they have this whole marketing set of tools to go along with selling your music to your fans. Yeah. So, they take a much lower percentage than iTunes, and you own the data. Like, when people buy music from at iTunes, you have no idea who your fans are. You have no direct relationship. If people buy the music and the merch and whatever, you can be selling a VIP, you can be selling access, a meet and greet, and front row tickets. The sky's the limit on how creative you can get and what you can sell. Sure. And you own that relationship when you sell it direct to fan via Topspin on your website. So you have that direct relationship with the fan. That's why that's so key. And Topspin it's basically e-commerce widgets. Yeah. They have these music players, and you can stream in these music players audio and video in the same playlist. It's really clean. It's shareable, so it's very viral. You can share the widgets. You can share a song, a video, anything via email. Email it to all your friends. You can post it on your Facebook page. You can post it on your MySpace page. You grab the embed code, put it on your blog. So it's a great. And they've really come a long way. Topspin's only been around, I think, for a couple of years now. So they're every week their platform is adding more bells and whistles. And I shouldn't beat up on iTunes quite so much. I do want to say, iTunes is very single driven. I think people that go to iTunes, of course they buy albums at iTunes as well, but we're not, Topspin's not in the singles business. If you're just going to cherry pick your favorite tracks from your artists, we would send you to iTunes, because the credit, buying a single song and the credit card fees, get kind of expensive.
Sure.
When you're doing it direct to fan on your own website. But yeah, if you just want to cherry pick your singles, you should still make your music available on iTunes and all the digital retailers. Like, that is definitely, I would still send people there. But when, really a company like Topspin, it's really to upsell and offer the fan more than what iTunes is offering. Offer them the digital download of the album, but offer them vinyl or a limited deluxe edition package that you can't get anywhere else but on your website.
Yeah.
That's where the real money is bundling T-shirts and vinyl and CD, and giving them an instant digital download while they're waiting for their gifts to come in the mail. You know.
How do you see not just the record industry but the music industry evolving? You're seeing through the companies you work with firsthand the way in which artists are likely to make money in the future, but many artists are not able to make that much money yet. Do you think this space will become larger as time goes by and as the internet spreads and as people get more used to buy music online? And do you think there's a bigger chance of creating what most people are calling the sort of music middle class, where there's going to be a lot more bands making a lot less money, but at least being able to make a living out of that?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be, your arena acts. You see a new crop of them coming up, like, Kings of Leon and they're the best example, or like the Killers, or there's still new bands coming up. And Muse, Muse has been an arena band in London forever, but we're seeing them right now just blow up finally in the US.
Yeah.
And I think you're still going to have your bands that reach the mainstream and blow up and fill arenas and stadiums, but the middle class is only going to grow and grow and grow, and the upper stadium and arena class, I think, is probably going to shrink. It's going to be tough. But most bands are happy if, can we just make a living doing what we love, making music? Can we just have a comfortable living, maybe, having 10, 50,000 fans that, care about. Well, I don't even know these days, all these artists that sold 1 million records, any artist that can sell 100,000 records these days is considered very, very successful.
Yeah.
The SoundScan charts are anemic. It's it's amazing how fast our business has changed in the past couple of years, and that's why it's so hard for me to predict what it's going to look like even 2 years from now, because I've never. It's like every day there's just huge mergers and acquisitions and bombs being dropped on us, and we're like, what? Who? How? It's just moving. It's crazy. It's exciting times, and with that, I think comes so much opportunity, and so I really think the bands have to be really smart. Like, you can't just be talented to be an artist that makes it. You have to have work really hard and want to tour, want to play 200 dates a year, want to put out music on a regular basis. There's no put out a record and for one record every 2 or 3 or 5 years like they did back in the 80s and 90s. You need to be putting out 3 songs a month, or at least you just got to put music on a regular basis is bottom line, or your fans are not going to stay engaged and they're going to forget who you are. Yeah. So you just really got to connect with your fans. You've got to work harder just as hard on the business side as you do making music. So I think that's going to be and there's a lot of ways to do it. Being smart, having viral tools in your website so people can share your music with others, and good music is going to spread if you make it available. And I think there's a new set of tastemakers emerging. So it was mass media dominating everything, where if you got on radio, if you got on terrestrial radio, that would mean and got it to the top of the charts, that would probably mean you're going to sell millions of records. Yeah. Well, now, terrestrial radio is losing listeners every day to satellite radio, to podcasts, to internet radio with all these Wi-Fi connections, and you can have 10,000 radio stations on your phone or in your car, at any given moment. So everybody is just divided. And I do think it's going to shift, as all the media is kind of being spread out to just a large group of websites and companies, and I think the dust will settle, and there will be new companies that emerge that have a lot of the eyeballs that the TV and newspapers and radio stations, terrestrial radio stations, used to have. Like, I see, for instance, bloggers. You're seeing all these bloggers are all starting their own labels. Yeah. having their own radio shows, on Sirius XM and
syndicating basically.
Yeah. I really feel like there's definitely a whole new group of tastemakers online that are going to emerge, and it's really just that's how people are going to find out about music, is through maybe their favorite blog or their best friend or their favorite podcast. It's all going to be from a trusted source.
Yeah. And finally, can you give us an overview of your presence online, like your Twitter, and just plug in your website, whatever you want to share with us in terms of links and that kind of stuff? So,
yeah, I do this. So music bands under the radar. I call it BUTR. So I mentioned I have a free app. So if you have an iPhone or an Android, please go download that. I put new songs in there every week, and I actually in my app I'll play my full podcast, or I'm actually doing single songs where I'll just do a 10 to 30 second intro about the artist, play the full song, and then link to iTunes in the iPhone or 7 Digital in the Android to purchase the track.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So that's cool. I really like doing that. And in bandsundertheradar.com, that's my website. You can download and stream all my podcasts there. And I did this promotion where I did 100 songs for $10. So there's everything that I do with music, I posted on bandsundertheradar.com. So that's always, you can join my mailing list and stay connected with me there. You can follow me on Twitter there, join my Facebook page. So yeah, I really use Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, collecting email via Topspin on my bandsundertheradar.com. Like, I use all of those methods to connect with my fans and find new music lovers. And I should mention, and this is the great thing that can happen from like a podcast. So there's this DJ, John Savage. He does a 2-hour new music show in South Africa on 5FM. So 5FM is the largest rock station in South Africa, and they have millions of listeners. In South Africa, it's getting a lot of attention this year because of the World Cup, but they never get to see all these great indie bands that I'm playing on my podcast because it's so expensive for artists to travel to South Africa. Only your arena acts can make it there, and he was a fan of my podcast for a while, and so he just called me up. He's like, I want you to be on the show every week. Call in and tell me your favorite songs and artists that are buzzing, whether it's in the U.S. or in Europe or wherever. And so every week I pick two songs or 2 artists to highlight, and I'm live on the air with him in front of millions of people. And it's really that whole relationship developed all because he was a fan of my podcast, and it's exciting that now the artists that I play my podcast, I can now also have a chance to break them and expose them to millions of fans in South Africa. Yeah.
It's the randomness of the internet, as usual.
Yeah, right. That's the beauty of it. So that's just how, everybody has different ways to discover music.
Yeah. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I hope my listeners are going to check out all the links and start enjoying your podcast, because it's really good music.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I always encourage if there's any artists or musicians listening, send me your music. You can find my email and Dropbox on bandsundertheradar.com. But I listen to everything that's sent to me.
Cool, fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.